Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to another video, and welcome to a reading vlog. Today I'm going to be reading a bunch of books from this box that I have here. This video is very kindly sponsored by A Box of Stories, who sent me this box, and I'm going to be, reading some of these books. So as I said, the company A Box of Stories, who are kindly sponsoring this video, have sent me here a box of books. So let me find out what is in the box and what I'm going to be reading throughout this vlog. What have we got? I have here Someone Like You by Rachel Dove, which I guess is a rom-com. It looks like a rom-com. I'm excited to try this. I'm always on the lookout for more rom-coms. There is a good mix of genres in this box because I requested a mix of genres, so excited about that. Here I have This Can Never Not Be Real by Sarah Milano. This is a YA novel about 5 teenagers thrown together during a terrorist attack, I think. So I think this is going to be quite dark but quite interesting. And I also have here The Death of Sir Martin Malprelate by Adam Roberts, which sounds like a historical crime novel, I guess. All right, and here we have The Revels by Stacey Thomas, which I have already read, but I was actually only expecting 4 books in this box and there are 5, so I feel like this can be my bonus book. I absolutely love The Revels. It's a fantastic novel set in the 17th century, looking at the witch trials from quite a different perspective, from the perspective of someone who ends up becoming a witch finder because he fears that people may discover his own unusual abilities, and everything kind of goes on from there, and it's so good. So I will probably gift this book to someone else because I have already read it. I already have a copy of the hardback, and as I said, it is great, and I want to share how great this book is. Then the final book in this box is To Cage a God by Elizabeth May, which I haven't heard of at all. So this, I wasn't expecting a hardback either. This is a fantasy novel, I guess. This sounds like quite a dark fantasy novel to me, about 2 sisters and war and rebellion, which sounds great. And I have been meaning to read more fantasy this year, so I'm very excited for that. Right, let me tidy up my books. Oh, there's some bookmarks as well. I'm really enjoying that there are bookmarks. So I think I'm going to give this a go first. And then I will get to some more and let you know how I get on with them. So yeah, let me get started with this and I will check in again at some point. Hello again. So I've just finished reading This Can Never Not Be Real by Sarah Milano, which I thought was really, really fantastic. So as I think I said earlier on in this video, this is a YA novel about a group of teenagers during a terrorist attack. So these teenagers are at a concert at basically, I suppose, like a National Trust property, a historical house in Britain, when a right-wing terrorist group come into the concert and start shooting people. And the book is set over just a few hours, really, and we are following the perspectives of 4 teenagers caught up in this and their attempts to survive. And we kind of move between them very rapidly, so a lot of the kind of sections are sort of just a line or 2, so the book is kind of written in this way where we jump between the 4 perspectives, and I thought it was just really, really fantastic. Like, obviously there is a certain extent to which this book is a thriller, like it is very, very pacey and a lot happens, but it's also very, like, seriously done and not gratuitous, and I think it Like, it's very dark for a book for teenagers, but it is very, very effective and written fantastically. And I thought the characterization and the character growth and the connections between these teenagers were drawn so well. I'm so glad that I read this, because this isn't necessarily a book that I would immediately like go to pick up, but I thought it was fantastic. Next, I think I'm going to pick up Someone Like You by Rachel Dove, which I guess is a romance about a woman like leaving an unhappy marriage and starting again. And this sounds really interesting. I thought I would go for this next because I'm feeling in a romancy mood. I've just finished listening to Funny Story by Emily Henry on audiobook, which was just like so good. I don't need to derail this vlog by talking about Funny Story for ages. I'll talk about it in my wrap-up video at the end of the month, but oh, so good. But yeah, that has put me therefore in a romance mood, so I feel like I'm going to pick up Someone Like You next, which I'm looking forward to. But before I get started with this, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Box of Stories, who have sent me these books and who are sponsoring this video. So basically they are a book subscription box, but they're quite a flexible book subscription box, which I really like. So you can get a box with either 2 books or 4 books in, and it can be either once a month, every 2 months, every 3 months, or just a one-off box of books. So you could just buy yourself or buy a friend a one-off box of surprise books, which I think is really cool because I really like the idea of like a book box. But I don't know about you, I always feel like I have so many books I want to read anyway that like getting something every single month feels a little bit overwhelming. But I think the fact that you can just buy like a one-off surprise book box is really cool. And there are lots of other cool things about a Box of Stories as well. So you can pick your box by genre. So I think they have a crime, thriller, mystery box, a fantasy box, a sci-fi and fantasy box, a light reads box, a historical fiction box, a YA box, or a kids box. And then you can also have a like surprise me box or like a build your own box where you can pick the genres. So I basically did a build your own box for this box that they sent me, and I requested some historical fiction and romance because I really like those genres, but I also requested some YA and fantasy because I really love those genres, but I don't read them very often, and I thought it would be nice to like get some books that I read slightly less often, and you know, ended up with really one fantastic YA book which was just great and reminds me that I should read more YA in general. And the kind of idea behind a Box of Stories is to get slightly lesser well-known books into people's hands. So the idea is that the books they send you are always a surprise, and they're not just sending you bestsellers that you've probably already heard of. And I know they get some of their books through remaindering, which is when publishers have stock of a book that isn't selling very well, and therefore they are getting rid of those copies. A lot of books end up being pulped, in the UK at least, which is really sad. But sometimes companies like A Box of Stories come up with inventive ways to stop that happening as much. So some of the books they send you are books that might otherwise have been pulped, which I think is really cool and important. But they do also like curate their books based on good reviews. So the idea is that you're getting a book that is really great and that some people have loved but hasn't like reached as wide an audience as it might have done, which I think is really cool. And a portion of their profits go to literacy charities as well, which is also very cool. So I will leave link down below their website, both their UK website and their US website. So they're a UK based company, but they do also operate in the US with free shipping as well. If you're interested in A Box of Stories, you can use the discount code KatieBooks to get 15% off and an extra free book in your first 4-book box. Now that I say that, I understand why I had 5 books in my box rather than 4, but there we go. I'll leave information down below and you can go and find out more if you like. But in the meantime, I'm going to get reading. Hello again, I'm back and I've just finished reading Someone Like You by Rachel Dove, which I enjoyed a lot. Not as much as I enjoyed This Can Never Not Be Real, but I did think it was really interesting, and it was a very quick, pacey read in some ways. I mean, it's quite short, but it only took me like, you know, I guess about 24 hours. I think I read this in a day. So this is about a woman called Hannah, and at the beginning of the book, Hannah has left her abusive husband, and she has taken her baby daughter Ava and she has run away, and she's going to start a new life and hope that he doesn't find her. And we follow her in her new life as she settled into a small village, and she meets a policeman called Brody, and his dog, and they start to fall in love. But Hannah knows that she has a very, very complicated past, and she's so afraid of that past ruining her possible future. And it's a really engaging novel. Like I said, read it pretty quickly, and enjoyed the story. And I think also if you like dogs, you will also really enjoy the dog Bullet, who was quite good fun. I'm not like a massive dog/pet person, but I did quite enjoy the dog, and especially like the dog and the baby have a friendship, kind of, which is very cute. So yeah, really enjoyed that. And then, yeah, I think next I'm gonna go for the historical mystery, because I'm quite excited for this one. So this is The Death of Sir Martin Malprelate, I guess. The Death of Sir Martin Malprelate, by Adam Roberts, which I think is set in the Victorian period. I feel like it was 1848. I'm just looked at the back of the book, and there's a mention of Middlemarch, which is not a real place, but is in this book. Wait. A gripping novel set in the tangled realms of 19th century fiction, in a world woven from the imaginations of Charles Dickens, George Eliot, and Arthur Conan Doyle. So I think this book connects, like, places from Victorian literature and maybe characters? Oh, I don't know, but I'm actually even more excited for this book now. So, right, let me get started with this evening. I am really looking forward to this. So I'm only 50 pages in, but I just wanted to say what an utter delight this is. It is so fun. It is like a kind of Avengers Assemble of Victorian literature. So lots of the main characters are new for this book, but lots of the minor characters are characters from Victorian literature. And there's so many like literary references, it's really fun. The person who has been killed, Sir Martin, ran the London Middlemarch Railway, and owned property in Middlemarch, London and Barsetshire. And Inspector Bucket from Bleak House turned up, and I'm pretty sure we just met the Invisible Man from the H.G. Wells novel. And we've just been talking to Sherlock Holmes's dad, and it's just very, very, very fun and such a treat for somebody who loves Victorian literature as I do. So I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of this. I just thought I would check in and tell you what a joy this is so far. And yeah, really looking forward to reading more of this. Hello again, I am back, and yes, I have had a haircut since I filmed the last clip, but anyway, I've also finished reading The Death of Sir Martin Malprelate. Every time I try and say that word, I stumble over it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was a good, fun, very silly, supernatural mystery, filled with lots of Victorian Easter eggs and literary references, which I really, really enjoyed. So as I think I mentioned earlier, we're following various characters who are investigating the mysterious death of Sir Martin, who is killed one day in the street, and all the witnesses say they have seen something which is surely impossible. And we're following various people who are investigating it, and there are a bunch of Victorian literary characters involved. So we have well, the father of Sherlock Holmes, but obviously he has lots of similar characteristics to Sherlock Holmes, and we have the Invisible Man from H.G. Wells, and we have various characters from Dickens showing up. We have various places from George Eliot and Anthony Trollope mentioned, and in general, it's just like really fun for people who like Victorian literature. I will say there are spoilers for Nicholas Nickleby and Dombey and Son in here, and quite big spoilers for Dombey and Son, and spoilers for A Christmas Carol, but you know, you probably know the plot for A Christmas Carol already. This reminded me a lot of like The Air Affair by Jasper Fforde. If anyone's read that, it definitely has that same kind of style to it. It's quite tongue-in-cheek and very silly. I will say that I didn't hugely agree with the way the Chartist movement was presented in this book. Like the Chartist movement has a role in the plot, but I feel like maybe it's that I have a lot more sympathy for the Chartist movement than the author does, or maybe it's just that the Chartist movement like wasn't explored enough in this book. Like it's a plot point rather than part of the kind of thematic exploration of the book, I suppose. But I feel like if you're going to use something like that as a plot point, I would have liked more thematic exploration of it too. But anyway, regardless of that, I did still really enjoy the novel. It was very good fun. Like I said, very silly. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that one. And next I'm going to pick up To Cage a God by Elizabeth May. I haven't read any fantasy for a while. Have I read any fantasy so far this year? I don't think so. I've read some sci-fi, but I don't think I've read any fantasy, so I'm looking forward to picking this up and seeing what it's like. I feel like it's going to be quite dark. It's going to be too dark for me. Oh, I've just taken off the dust jacket to read it, and what a creepy hardback design, but I kind of love it. I'm going to look very sinister reading this on the train. But anyway, looking forward to starting this. As you can see, I've already stuck my bookmark in the front. So yeah, I will get on with this and I will check in again soon. I hadn't read a fantasy book for ages and I had forgotten just how much I love reading fantasy. This is such good fun. Hello again, I'm back and I have finished reading To Cage a God. I put the dust jacket back on, but to be honest, I think I actually prefer the hardcover design. But there we go. I really enjoyed this. This was great. Yeah, I haven't read a fantasy book for ages and it was just such a pleasure. I should read more fantasy and this was good to remind me to read more fantasy. And actually bits of it reminded me like thematically of The Final Strife by Sarah El-Arifi, which is one of my favourite fantasy books, and it reminded me that I must continue with that series as well. And I assume this will have a sequel. It was definitely setting up for a sequel. I don't think it will necessarily be out yet as this novel only came out last year, but I will definitely be on the lookout for that too because this was great. So this is a fantasy novel set in a fantasy world that is, I guess, like partly inspired by Imperial Russia, like 18th, 19th century Russia. That was definitely the feel of it. And we're following two sisters, well, foster sisters, both of whom were brought up by a revolutionary who has given them particular magical powers through experiments. And these kind of magical powers are usually only possessed by the ruling classes. But this woman, their mother, trained them up to use this power for revolution. She died a long time ago, and at the beginning of the book, the two sisters are living kind of in hiding, but things change when the emperor dies, and then the two sisters head to the capital to hatch a plot to overthrow the empress and fight back against the tyrannical government that rules this place. And there was so much in this that I loved. I thought thematically it was great, and I really enjoyed the characterization, and it was just a really like fun, enjoyable, quick read. I don't know if technically this would count as romantasy. Like, there's quite a lot of romance plot lines in it, and definitely in the second half of the novel the romance is quite important, but then I feel like the main plot is like revolution and rebellion rather than romance, so maybe that doesn't mean it counts as romantasy. I'm not very clear about the line between romantasy and fantasy, but there we go. It's a fantasy novel, it has some romance elements, and I really enjoyed the different romance elements within it. One sister finds herself drawn to a woman who it's very inconvenient for her to be drawn to considering their plans, and the other sister meets a man from her past who is definitely dangerous. Overall, just thoroughly enjoyed this. It was great fun, and yes, really nice to read a fantasy book and remind myself how much I love this genre and why I should read it more. So pacey, so fun. That was great. Okay, so those are all the books from my box, and I have now read the 4 books that I got in the box that I hadn't read already. I think my favourite was probably This Can Never Not Be Real, but was also maybe To Cage a God, which was great. I also really enjoyed The Death of Sir Martin. I think Someone Like You was probably my least favourite of the box. Like, it was the one I clicked with the least of the box, but I still thought it was a good read, and I still really enjoyed it. So overall, very positive, and I really enjoyed having a mix of genres and reminding myself to pick up some genres that I don't read so often, such as YA and fantasy, that I do really like whenever I read them. So I have thoroughly enjoyed my week or two of reading, and I thoroughly enjoyed all the books in my box of stories. As I said earlier in this video, a box of stories are very kindly sponsoring this video, so I will leave more links down below about them. And I'll also make sure that my discount code is in the description if you fancy getting yourself or a friend a box of books. Otherwise, I'd be interested to know whether you have read or heard of any of these books and what you think of them, and also what you have been reading in the last week or two. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.